So growing up and, kind of in that, did you kind of have, growing up, do you have like a clear view of where you wanted to go and what you wanted to do? Or was it, I guess you already knew you wanted to go to Stillwater, but do you know what you wanted to do?
Not really. Now, growing up at Oklahoma State was just kind of a given of where you were going to go to
Yeah.
school in my house. I knew I wanted to be in the ag sector in some form or fashion, but wasn't real certain what that looked like. And a lot of people, certainly will ask the question now, when you were a kid, did you think you'd ever be Secretary of Agriculture? And really the honest answer to that is, I don't know that I even really knew what the job entailed when I was a kid. So it's been a really unique path, and I've had a lot of people who have opened up a lot of doors of opportunity for me to allow me to kind of get to this point.
Yeah, you're right. Like growing up, kind of, I guess, going to OSU, it's like an ag-driven, totally an ag-driven town.
Absolutely.
And it's, when I was in college, I went to a few OU games and probably more OU games than I did at OSU at the time when I was in college. But since I graduated, a really good friend and my host family, they're huge OSU fans, and they just kind of brought me to the side and welcomed me in.
Yes.
So I would consider myself an OSU fan.
It certainly is just kind of a big extended family. I think so many of us in the ag community, we just settle so well into Oklahoma State University because the ag world is just kind of a big family. I mean, that's how we operate, and everybody helps each other. And so then you get there on campus and it's kind of that same feel, and people are very welcoming, and people, just as passionate as people are about agriculture, people are just as passionate if they're graduates of the university about OSU.
Yeah. So did your older sister go to OSU as well?
She did.
Okay.
Yes, she
and
did.
Younger sister
and
as well?
Younger sister went as well. Yes.
Yeah.
So all of us went to school there. Had some great faculty. I certainly think the College of Ag is the best college there on campus. But some wonderful faculty and staff that helped us kind of decide, what career option really looks. Now, my older sister was very decided on being a veterinarian, and that's what she went ahead and did. But I said, I love the ag piece of the world, but also, want to maybe look at ag business or what other opportunities there are there. So that's the great thing about the College of Ag, is I think they really help students to prepare to be successful in their career path. And I think all three of us would certainly say that was very beneficial to us.
Yeah. When does, I guess, the leadership side of things come in? Because that's kind of mated to both, right? Like
yes.
What you do now.
So interesting, we did lots of leadership development activities, certainly through the FFA program. And I'll always plug 4-H and FFA. And I say if I could have every kid in Oklahoma be in those programs, I would do that because of the personal development piece of it. But I think it certainly really helps me get involved in campus activities. And then later on in the workforce, you're comfortable speaking in front of people because you've done that a lot. You've been in speech contests and you've answered questions. It kind of becomes old hat. You're comfortable working with all types of different people. I think it kind of gives you a leg up on maybe some other folks who didn't have that leadership development experience once you enter into the workplace, because you've done a lot of those things prior to your kind of formal career. And then that helps because I'm the same way here at the department or other places I've worked. If we have people who we interview that have that 4-H or FFA experience, I want to hire them because I know that they've got a skill set that'll be beneficial to the organization.
Yeah, like I said, because you've personally been through it, you know the value of it, and you know what it did for you, and that I'm sure it's continuing to evolve as well and doing better and better every year.
Absolutely. I think a lot of times back to, because now pre-COVID, I spoke to a lot more groups. That has certainly adjusted to lots of virtual speaking opportunities now. But, our ag teachers, when they'd have us rehearse our speeches and really focus on our delivery and communicating with our audience and answering questions, well, I do that a lot now. That may be with a commodity group, that may be with members of the legislature. I've had to do that some with media interviews this spring. And you learned that skill as a younger adult, and so you have a much greater comfort level, I think, later on.
Yeah, you're right. Comfort's a great word for it, because being under the lights and being in front of a camera, and because they are bright lights, and you have your microphone or 3 or 4 microphones shoved in your face, it can be very overwhelming.
It certainly can. It's interesting, and I know so many people have seen the governor at a multitude of press conferences this spring, and they called the one day because we had some unique challenges in the ag sector, and they said, well, could you come over for this afternoon? We're going to talk. There are going to be some questions about ag and what's going on. I said, you bet. And they said, well, do you feel like you really need prepped on this? And I'm like, I think I'm good. Yeah. You don't want to be overly confident,
sure,
but
comfortable.
I've just, when you give a speech to 3 judges in a room and they really kind of drill you with questions, it prepares you for maybe those questions that come from the media.
Yeah. So while you're at OSU, how quickly was it determined that you knew exactly what ag degree you were doing?
So I tell this story a lot when I talk to college students. I have an agricultural economics degree. And when I went kind of for my campus tour, and, you talk to faculty, and those have certainly even evolved since I first went to college. But at that point, they kind of gave you all these options. And so I said, of the students that are graduating now, which degree has the highest number of students that have a job when they walk across stage at graduation? And at that time, it was the Ag Econ degree. And so I said, perfect. That's what I would like to do because I'd like to have a job. And I'm incredibly fortunate that I had, several job interviews before I even graduated. And certainly kudos to OSU and the College of Ag, because they do a great job with those career fairs and getting kids set up for that. But several options, and then had a job when I graduated, which is a really good feeling after you get done with college. So
yeah, I didn't. That's why I got into real. I was like, I think I can do this real estate thing. Sure, I'll do that. Why not?
There you go.
I did.
This podcast was presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, who've been telling Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. Follow them online at oklahomahof.com and definitely on Instagram at oklahomahof. Catch you next episode. Cheers.